Hey everybody, Mr. the Fanboy here, back for another video, and this is my favorite sports video. This video will be featured as my subscribed trailer video. I'm gonna list and talk about my favorite sports, and I'm also gonna talk about why you should subscribe to Mr. the Fanboy's channel. Before I start, I'm gonna talk about why you should subscribe to this channel. If you subscribe to this channel, you'll get several different videos and reviews on several different sports, professional wrestling, and just lots of other stuff you won't see on other channels. That's number one. Number two, oh yeah, now for the my favorite sports. These are some of the sports I'm going to be talking about or mentioning from time to time. My very first favorite sport will have to be professional freaking wrestling. I consider professional wrestling to be a combination of sports and entertainment. Sports and entertainment. I've been a huge fan of wrestling since I've been a little kid. I've always loved the large and colorful cast of characters, the awesome wrestling. Even as a kid, I appreciated the wrestling, the moves, the hitting, and all of that stuff, and just the sheer entertainment value of professional wrestling. I think professional wrestling sucks today. I think professional wrestling's best for me was 1984 till 2008. I think professional wrestling sucks today. There's still some good independent promotions. TNA is still good, but they're not a threat to WWE, and I just think WWE just plain out sucks. There's still some wrestlers on there that I like though, so I occasionally watch it. I also love the history of wrestling, the early 1900s with wrestlers like George Hackenschmidt, Frank Gotch, the world's most popular real wrestler, Sabisco, I keep forgetting his first name, Tom Jenkins, people like that. Then you get to the early 20s with the Dust Bowl trio, where wrestling became scripted with wrestlers like Ed Strangler Lewis, and I keep forgetting the other two, but these guys revolutionized tag team wrestling and flashy sports entertainment wrestling by adding punching and suplexes and stuff. But I'll talk more about that in another video. Going back to what I was saying about professional wrestling. So yeah, professional wrestling is one of my all-time favorite sports. Next sport is professional boxing. I've been a huge fan of professional boxing since I saw Evander Holyfield and Mike Tyson. They're two awesome battles, and you had these two mutant-looking fighters, just like wrestling. These two larger-than-life, mutant-looking fighters who appear to hate each other, just beating the crap out of each other with these awesome boxing gloves, badass trunks, socks, boots or shoes. It was just awesome. Then of course another fight I saw was Bruce Seldon and Mike Tyson, the night rapper Tupac Shakur was shot. I didn't know that at the time, but that was another good fight. Mike Tyson's brutal destruction of Seldon was awesome. As I got older, I started to appreciate the more technical side of boxing, the actual sweet science, and started becoming fans of fighters in lower weight classes too, like Oscar De La Hoya, Floyd Mayweather Jr., and Mosley, people like that. But I always preferred the heavyweight division. I think boxing should always be centered around the heavyweight division, but you can have the lightweight fighters as top draws, as top players too, but the heavyweight division is what boxing should be centered around. Just like with wrestling, I think boxing sucks today. I think Don King and Bob Arum, if I pronounced that right, I think they ruined boxing by making everything pay-per-view and by focusing only on lighter weights, and focusing way too much on Pacquiao and Mayweather instead of fixing the heavyweight division. I think boxing sucks now, but there's still lots of fighters I enjoy watching, like Mayweather, Pacquiao, the Glitchkos, Luke Fury, an up-and-coming fighter, and David Haye, who I just think recently retired. Also, Tomasz Adamek, a Polish fighter, Steve Cunningham, an African-American fighter. So there's still some good fighters today, but I just think boxing is terrible. I'd much rather just replay the highlights of Tyson, Holyfield, Ali, Hagler, Hitman Hearns, and Mosley, and people like that. Next sport is MMA. Okay, I've been a huge fan of MMA. I've been a huge fan of MMA ever since I saw professional wrestlers Ken Shamrock in WWE, Tank Abbott in WCW, and even other professional wrestlers like Taz, Goldberg, Perry Saturn, who had shoot wrestling like maneuvers, which is what it was called at the time, shoot fighting or shoot wrestling type maneuvers. And even as a kid, I could appreciate that, these awesome moves. I appreciated it more when I got older and learned more about fighting and martial arts. Love the UFC. It was real. I was seeing actual realistic fighting and awesome fights too. It was cool seeing Dan Severn, a wrestler, come in and beat several street fighters, kickboxers, and brawlers with just wrestling. And he nearly beat Gracie, but Gracie caught him. Shamrock did the same thing. He beat Patrick Smith, a kickboxer. Then he beat some Gerard Gordonier. I think that was his name. I keep forgetting the other guy he beat, but he was a Savati, a French kickboxer type fighter. And he beat all these with skills in wrestling and striking. And then you had Tank Abbott, who had a poor record, but he was such an awesome fighter, and he was the embodiment of what UFC was all about. He was just badass with his cool beard, his trunks, and his awesome wrestling shoes. His awesome wrestling shoes with the tape in his gloves. He was actually the first to wear martial arts grappling gloves. And seeing him, well, in the fights he did win, seeing him dominate other street fighters, other boxers, was cool with his wrestling. And he claims to know boxing too. That I did not know, because when he fought Vitor Belfort, another favorite fight of mine, Vitor Belfort destroyed him, and it was cool seeing Vitor Belfort destroy the massive, much larger Tank Abbott with just superior technique. Then you had awesome fighters like Liddell and Randy Couture, and Shamrock, who brought UFC to the mainstream. Then you had fighters like Brock Lesnar, who made UFC #1. And I'm still a huge fan of UFC today. They have good fights, especially now that they got rid of a lot of the old fighters like Tito Ortiz. Ortiz, as much as I love Brock Lesnar, now that they got rid of Brock Lesnar's gone too, the heavyweight division, which was terrible for a couple of years after fighters like Bas Rutten, Rico Rodriguez, in my opinion, retired, is now good again with fighters like Cain Velasquez. Keep forgetting, I think his name is Sean. Sucks that Shane Carwin had to retire, but the heavyweight division is awesome now. It's one of my favorite things about UFC today. UFC is still awesome today, unlike boxing and professional wrestling. But yeah, next sport is American Gladiators. American Gladiators. This was a show from 1989 till 1996. They had a untelevised season from 1996 till I think from 2000. Then they had an inspired show called Battle Dome, starring actor Terry Crews and Michael Ahern, the only person to appear on 2 American Gladiator shows. He appeared on this, then he appeared on the non-televised American Gladiator version, then he appeared on the 2008 reboot of American Gladiators, hosted by Hulk Hogan and Layla Ali. I love the American Gladiators. I love the challenges, and I love the larger-than-life gladiator gladiator characters in their badass gear. The only thing I don't like about American Gladiators is that in every American Gladiator show, all they do is fight contenders or amateurs. That's cool, but then I eventually want to see the American Gladiators fight each other to see who is the ultimate gladiators, called American Gladiators. Not pros versus Joes, but American Gladiators is awesome, and that needs to come back. There's so many amateur athletes doing nothing and wasting their careers, and not everyone is going to be a football player, basketball player, baseball player, professional wrestler, MMA fighter, and no one really wants to do boxing anymore, which pisses me off. Boxing needs to go back to proving why they're the most dominant sport going back to combat, next is kickboxing. I love kickboxing. I've been a huge fan of the kickboxing since I saw it back in the 90s. I think it was either the K1, it was K1, and I thought K1, they had some awesome fighters like Ernesto Hoost, Peter Aerts, Crow Cop, Jeremy LeBanner, and the late great Andy Hug. So many awesome they had so many awesome fighters. What's the guy's name? Yeah, so they had so many Sam Greco, that's another awesome fighter. They had so many awesome fighters. Even Bob Sapp, who was terrible, he was still a major draw there and was still exciting to watch. And he had one of the most hilarious fights I've ever seen with Chung Man Hoi, who, as a boxer, a kickboxer, he sucked, but that guy was a good wrestler. He was one of the largest fighters in sports in K1, in combat sports in K1 history. That's coming back with a new league called Glory. I'm happy to see that on Spike TV with new fighters like Peter Vanderhoeven, Tyrone Sprong, and many more awesome fighters. I've watched several of those Glory events on Spike TV, and that stuff is awesome. I'm glad to see that making a comeback. I hate how ESPN canceled the K1 stuff. And next on this list is NHL hockey. Been a huge fan of NHL hockey ever since I saw it as a kid. I used to play the games on Sega Genesis. I own one of them I own NHL 2002 on NHL 2002 on the computer. I might get another one for one of the modern consoles in the future. Never ever got a chance to get another NHL game, but the NHL games are actually some of my favorite sports games because I'm actually good at them. I'm terrible at Madden, and I don't think the NBA stuff is really all that good when it comes to video games. But yeah, I've been a huge fan. I appreciated NHL much more when I grew up, and I just love the gimmicky ice rink, the badass gear, the hockey players wearing I love it's just an awesome technical game. With first off, you gotta know how to skate. Then you gotta know how to hit the puck, you gotta try to get the puck into the what's his name. The other guy has to try to block it, which could hurt at times. Then of course you get the physicality. You get the physicality with the tackling people, and shoving people into walls and shoulder blocking people. Then of course you get the awesome fighting. You even have a show called NHL Halftime, which is dedicated to nothing but the fighting and the rivalry between the two teams, just like in professional wrestling. But hockey is just an awesome sport. It sucks it doesn't, in my opinion, while it is featured prominently on Mondays and Wednesdays, usually on Mondays and Wednesdays, it's still overshadowed by football, basketball, and baseball. In my opinion, it still doesn't get the respect it deserves. Next sport is NHL. Sorry about that. Next sport is NHL. Next sport is soccer. I'm a huge fan of soccer. I played soccer briefly in my youth, and soccer is such a fun, technical, intense, athletic game. I think the no hands rule makes that game much more harder and exciting. You have to kick the ball into the net. You have to kick the ball into the net. I think it's way better. I think it's underrated. I think it's way better than its much more impactful and physical NFL counterpart. Next is amateur wrestling. I am a huge fan of amateur wrestling, and I feel that gets no respect. Amateur wrestling is the world's most oldest sport, and they just recently wanted to get rid of it at the Olympics, and they had to change it to get people to appreciate it more. I think the Olympics is a joke. I'm going to talk more about that in another video, but the amateur wrestling is awesome. I wrestled from 2004 to 2008 in high school. I loved it. I had problems with my team at times. But I love the amateur wrestling. Like I said, going back to the UFC, seeing amateur wrestlers dominating UFC made me like amateur wrestling even more, and I want to. And then seeing awesome professional wrestlers like Bret Hart, Kurt Angle, Steiner brothers, who were trained in their youth with amateur wrestling, seeing them work in the ring was just awesome. It made me want to try amateur wrestling, and I did it from 2004 to 2008, my entire high school career. I quit for several reasons, which I'm going to talk about in another video about amateur wrestling. But yeah, amateur wrestling is awesome, and it doesn't get the respect it deserves. I think it's one of the best sports ever, and also one of the best fighting styles. One of the best fighting styles ever. It's just awesome. I love the headgear, the singlets, the awesome shoes, the knee pads, the spandex. It's just wrestling's awesome. I love the holds, the sequence of holds, the takedowns, the body slams. It's just awesome. Amateur wrestling is just awesome. I hate the fact that it's not featured as much as it should be. The only time they feature amateur wrestling is in February and March with the NCAA championships, and they may broadcast some of the high school state championships. But other than that, amateur wrestling is not featured, in my opinion, like it should be. Next sport is motorsports. I love NASCAR. I love the cool cars, the awesome uniforms, the awesome jumpsuits and uniforms the players wear, the race car drivers wear. I also love motocross. I love the motocross, the motorcycle racing, same with NASCAR. Then I love the freestyle motocross, where they do cool tricks for the judges in a dirt bike arena for the judges. Then of course, I love monster truck. I love the monster truck competition. I love the sports entertainment type setting, and the obstacle courses, and just the huge monster trucks colliding with each other, and just the badass monster trucks. Motorsports is awesome. It sucks that doesn't even get the respect it deserves anymore. They don't even have their own channel anymore. You have to like flip through the channels to find them. The Speed channel is gone now. And then of course other sports like I also love boat racing. Boat racing, and this is not really motorsports, but it does involve some type of vehicle. I also love bicycling. I think that's pretty racing bikes. I think that's pretty awesome too. And then that's it for motorsports. Then of course you got bowling. Bowling is one of my all-time favorite recreational activities next to tennis and volleyball. Recreationally, something I'll play freestylely with my friends, yeah, bowling is awesome. I love the cool shoes they wear. I love the whole setting. I love the whole setting in arena. You go through several conventions, several tournaments to get noticed for a professional team, and I just love the whole professional thing. I've seen the bowling several times on Sunday, and it's just freaking awesome. It's one of the best recreational sports ever, and it's just lots of fun. Next, my next favorite sport would have to be baseball. I love baseball. I briefly played t-ball in my youth. I quit for several reasons. Wanted to play baseball in high school, but I was always doing other things, or I was either too tired from wrestling. I love the bat, the cool uniforms and jerseys they wear, the cleats, the hats, and the umpire. The umpire has some of the coolest gear ever, like Mad Max gear or something like that. And I think it's awesome. And the bat is one of my favorite weapons to use in a fight. I like anything that can be swung. And then of course you got what was the next sport? Oh yes, basketball. I think basketball is a fun, exciting, technical, high energy game. I was terrible at basketball. I tried basketball, but I was beyond terrible. The eye coordination and just the cool tricks they do with the balls and the dunking stuff. It's just awesome. It's just a fun game. They be doing magic out there, just like Magic Johnson's name. Then finally, American football. I think American football is overrated and gets way too much praise and too much attention, but it is an awesome, exciting game, and I love football for. I love its football led to the development and creation of modern wrestling. Football tackles, clothesline, knee clips, shoulder blocks. These are spears. The spear. The football version. These are moves that were created in football, and they led to the modern. They led to the creation of the modern day professional wrestling. Well, all right. This was my all-time favorite sports list. I'll be talking about most of these sports individually individual videos, and I'll also be doing reviews on several things from these sports. All right, Mr. the Fanboy out.